Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for welcoming here today. It's always a joy to return to my alma mater. You know, walking around campus never fails to bring back memories. My communications director, John Barnes, is with me here today, and I walked him around, and he's in the back there. Wave to us there, John. And I decided to take him down the Hall of Champions here in the Adams Center to show him a picture of me in my days when I was on the track and field team here. And so we got down to the picture and I showed it to him, and it's of me hurdling. And I think he was somewhat surprised, because I think looking at me now today, he was thinking perhaps maybe I was a shot putter. I just tell him this, of course, was 35 pounds ago, or excuse me, years ago. But it is good to be back. And when you get to be my age, you tend to relish the good old days when there was more hair and fewer pounds. And I sweated a lot on the field, or on the court down here and at Dornblazer Field, and they're great memories to be able to come back to. Thank you, Dean Russell and Anthony Johnstone, for your kind words. Dean, I just want to thank you for your service to my alma mater. You are one more of a long succession of great deans at the University of Montana School of Law, one of which who is now working with me at EC. When I was in school, the dean was John Mudd, and I think John Mudd's son is here today. John Mudd was one of the great educators, legal educators of his time. And he instituted a number of programs at the law school, and I was fortunate enough to be a beneficiary of those programs, including the law firm model of education that has been copied time and time again across the United States at other law schools. So, Mr. Mudd, I have fond memories of your father, and I want to thank him publicly once again for all he did for my education. And hopefully he might be able to take a little credit for me standing here today. And Anthony Johnstone is very kind to say that I am 1-0 against him. You know, one of the maybe unfortunate consequences of turnover in a public office like the Attorney General's office is that frequently very dedicated and professional and capable public servants decide to move on to other positions. And I'm fortunate enough to inherit a number of folks that former Attorney General Steve Bullock had working for him in appointed positions, and also some career civil servants. Unfortunately, Anthony left the office before I had an opportunity to offer a position to him to stay on, and I certainly would have. The law school is very well served by Anthony and his ability. He's a consummate professional. I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of former Attorney General Steve Bullock's appointed positions, appointed people working for me that I offered positions to, and not to raid the law school, but Anthony, if you're ever interested in coming back, we'd love to have you. So thank you for your introduction. In addition to thanking the university's law school for sponsoring this lunch, I'd also like to thank them for letting me borrow Dean Ed Eck, as I mentioned. He recently came to Helena to take the helm at my Office of Consumer Protection. And I know many of you know Dean Eck. I know he is going to do great things for the people of Montana and take that office to new heights. You know, back when I was an undergrad here, I never imagined that I would one day seek and hold elected office. I was a college kid full of energy, so you can imagine that my attention was elsewhere, particularly in my first quarter freshman year. Even during my time as a law student, it didn't occur to me that I might ever become Attorney General and have the opportunity to make a positive difference in the issues that my office deals with. I can honestly say that serving as Montana's Attorney General has been the greatest privilege of my life. Not long ago, long after I was elected, the outgoing Attorney General, Mr. Bullock, graciously gave me a tour of the Justice Building and spent a considerable amount of time with me. I could tell from his words and demeanor that he had grown quite fond of the Department of Justice and was going to miss being there. At one point, he looked me in the eyes and said with sincerity, "This is the best job in the world." 15 months later, I know exactly what he meant. I am the current temporary occupant of the corner office at 215 North Sanders, for those of you looking for us, in Helena. But before I came, and long after I'm gone, there were and will continue to be 800 dedicated public servants at the Department of Justice working hard in every corner of Montana to make our home safer. And if you will bear with me here for a moment, I want to recognize some folks here at the risk of leaving someone out who do a great job for the people of Montana. I'm going to start with John Benyon, who is a Deputy Attorney General and my legislative liaison, who is here with me today. Dana Toole, who runs what used to be called the Children's Justice Center, has been elevated to a bureau. She's an amazing woman, a great public servant, and making her office a bureau means more work, same amount of pay. So, but thank you, Dana, for what you do. Matthew Dale is here. Matt, where's your? Matt runs our Office of Victim Services, which is important, obviously, to what we do and is important to the topics that we're speaking here today. Assistant Attorney General Ole Olson. Ole, where are you? Ole is one of the finest prosecutors this state has ever seen. And his win-loss record is incredible, but more than that, he's just a genuine human being. And he was there at the Department of Justice, but when I got there, and I hope he'll be there for many, many years. I hope I'm not missing anybody. John, am I missing anybody?
You already said Barnes.
Oh, and John Barnes, I mentioned, my communications director, who's in the back, who is also a great policy person. So a couple of those fine people are presenting at this conference this weekend. Dana Toole is, with, as I said, with our Children's Justice Bureau, and I could spend a lot of time telling you about what she's done. Ole Olson, who is one of our prosecutors, is also speaking at the conference, and he's one of the reasons why our criminal conviction rate is second to none here in Montana. Dana and Ole spend their days immersed in the stark reality that there are a great many threats to public safety here in Montana. Many of those threats exist just below the surface of everyday life and aren't seen by most people. As you've discussed at this great conference, one such problem is human trafficking. The simplest way to define human trafficking is slavery. Though some people may have convinced themselves that it can't happen today, and therefore isn't happening in our midst, as the old saying goes, wishing don't make it so. Human trafficking can take many forms today. It could be something along the lines of women being bussed into an area like the Bakken for prostitution. These women could be from foreign countries, brought here illegally and against their will. Many of them could be underage girls. They could be runaways from other parts of America, deceived into prostitution or lured by some other insidious means. They could be Montana kids from families we know. Or slavery can be something as unorganized as an undocumented immigrant held as a housekeeper under the threat of being reported to the authorities. Human trafficking can be perpetuated by those we least suspect. And I'll give you a horrifying example. Not long ago, I toured the Watson Children's Shelter here in Missoula, which is just a few miles from here. The director is Fran Albrecht, a recent appointee to the Board of Regents. She is a dedicated and caring soul who puts her heart and soul into her work. As we walked around the shelter, she told me about the types of kids who come there. Most are brought by police officers or social workers. At one point, her shelter took in children whose parents had prostituted them out to pay for drugs. My friends, if something like this can happen right here in vibrant, populous Montana, a community like this one, then we must accept that it can happen anywhere. We can't afford to pretend that human trafficking is a distant or non-existent problem. We live in a globalized world, and as much as Montana might still seem like a community nestled away from many of the public safety challenges we hear about on cable news, the arm of human trafficking reaches into our communities. In 2009, 2 South Dakota hotel owners were convicted of having enslaved a number of Filipino nationals that they had brought into the United States with the promise of employment. In addition to cleaning hotel rooms, the owners hired the Filipinos out to local fast food restaurants. In 2012, Missoula law enforcement officers conducted an undercover sting at a local motel. They utilized a popular online advertising website called Backpage. to solicit a prostitute who turned out to be a 16-year-old girl from Spokane. A man had brought her and another girl from Spokane and was using a variety of means to prostitute these two girls. Also in 2012, a man and woman in Billings who operated a spa were convicted of promoting prostitution after it was discovered that they were prostituting a number of their employees. These employees were Asian women who lived in what police later described as total lockdown. They were slaves. Last year, a man in South Dakota was convicted of attempted sex trafficking of a minor when a sting operation found him attempting to purchase time alone with what he believed would be 14-year-old twin girls. He made arrangements with what he didn't know were undercover officers so that he could do anything he wanted to these girls short of physical abuse. Just last month, 7 people were arrested in Missoula on felony child sex abuse charges. Their arrests were the result of a 2-day sting in which members of the Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force and several law enforcement agencies posted ads on Craigslist and Backpage posing as adult female willing to prostitute a 12-year-old female relative. These are just a few examples, and I want to briefly recognize some of the law enforcement professionals from the local and also the federal level that we collaborate with every day. I know there's a member of the U.S. Attorney's Office here, the Missoula Police Department, and others. I hope you'll help me give them a hand for the work that they do. Because human trafficking is a global problem, it can seem overwhelming. The more one learns about it, the deeper one delves into the shocking statistics, the more one might be tempted to feel as if there's nothing that could be done about it. Shop worn as it may be, the old adage rings true. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Here are some steps we're taking in Montana and nationally. In July of last year, I and 48 other state attorneys general asked Congress to amend federal law to help us fight human trafficking and prostitution. Unfortunately, some courts have interpreted parts of a 1996 communications regulation law to provide immunity from state prosecution to online classified ad sites, such as Backpage.com, that promote and profit from human trafficking. We're asking Congress to amend that law so that we can prosecute people who utilize the internet to exploit children. You give someone like Ole Olson the opportunity to bring justice, he will do it. In December, I also joined a number of other attorneys general in asking Congress to fund the Trafficking Victims Protection Authorization Act. This funding would go towards programs that fight human trafficking in the U.S. Established in 2000, the act greatly increased America's efforts to protect human trafficking victims, assist supervisors, improve prevention methods, and successfully prosecute human traffickers. The original legislation established human trafficking as a federal crime. Last year, my office advanced a number of anti-trafficking efforts in the legislature. We assisted in passing new laws making it easier to prosecute criminals who engage in human trafficking and to get victims the help that they need. And while I'm on the subject of legislation, I want to recognize Representative Kimberly Dudek, who was kind enough to carry one of our bills in the legislature, sponsored by the Department of Justice, that closed a loophole where juvenile criminals who were incarcerated could actually leave supervision when they became adults. And so thank you, Representative Dudek, for your efforts in making sure that Montana is a safe place to live. And by the way, she's already volunteered to work with us in the next legislature, so I appreciate her enthusiasm. I fought for more highway patrol troopers in eastern Montana. Our analysis, as well as input from residents and local law enforcement agencies, made it abundantly clear that we had been stretched too thin in that region. More troopers means a greater ability on our part to address several threats to public safety, including human trafficking. I also fought to secure more agents with our Division of Criminal Investigation in eastern Montana. Oftentimes, when it comes to catching criminals, the most important law enforcement work is done in the investigative stages. And I might add that we were unsuccessful in getting funding for 2 agents in the legislature. As soon as the legislature, I hate to tell you this, Representative Dudek left town, Governor Bullock's office called my office and said, we'd like to help. And we now have those 2 agents hired thanks to Governor Bullock and his efforts. So we don't often go around the legislature, but sometimes we need to. The reality in the Bakken is that we're not just fighting petty criminals. We're going after international drug cartels and sophisticated networks trafficking in people, drugs, guns, and more. Our investigators coordinate with city, county, state, and federal law enforcement agencies to share intelligence as well as pursue, apprehend, and convict dangerous criminals. These partnerships are invaluable in combating human trafficking, and I want to publicly thank the U.S. Attorney's Office and Mike Cotter, who leads that office, for all of his efforts in helping us to combat all of these crimes. Securing these investments was not an easy fight, but we made it happen, and we're already in the process of getting these new people deployed. When it comes to the Bakken, it is vitally important that our investment in infrastructure and public safety resources keep pace with population growth and economic development. We cannot pretend that the growth there doesn't exist or that it's a temporary phenomenon. One of the first things we can do to combat human trafficking is increase public awareness. That's why, working with a bipartisan group of legislators last year, my office created a special poster with information in both English and Spanish. You'll see it here. It features a toll-free helpline that's manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and run by the Polaris Project, a nonprofit organization committed to fighting human slavery. The poster has been placed in every highway rest area managed by the Montana Department of Transportation. Additionally, we are working with businesses located at key points along our highways where trafficking might occur. Recently, we announced a partnership with Town Pump Corporation out of Butte, who will be displaying the posters in more than 50 locations. Actually, that's 250 locations across Montana. We're also in discussions, I'm excited to tell you, with a large trade organization in transportation, the transportation industry, to partner on human trafficking awareness outreach efforts, and you'll have to stay tuned for our announcement in that regard. I'm hopeful that these efforts and accomplishments are just the beginning. Switching gears a bit, I'd like to touch on an important factor in the fight against human trafficking. I'll assume that many of you here listen to Montana Public Radio. I do. If you do, you might have heard Dan Boyce's January interview with Brian Lockerbie, who runs our Division of Criminal Investigation. I appointed Brian to the position more than a year ago. He's a 30-year veteran of the Great Falls Police Department and one of the finest law enforcement officers that I know. In discussing the human trafficking problem in the Bakken, which appears to manifest itself primarily as forced prostitution, Brian mentioned that one of the challenges is treating the prostitutes as victims, which many are. This is something to which the law enforcement community must adapt. While the Montana Law Enforcement Academy, which is operated by the Department of Justice, features human trafficking education as part of its core curriculum, I have directed Brian's division to find ways we can increase efforts to educate law enforcement personnel on what to look for when investigating human trafficking. We will continue to look for ways that we can better train law enforcement personnel to not only identify human trafficking, but also how to most effectively intervene so as to protect the victims and connect them with the help that they need. But law enforcement can't do it alone. To address the problem holistically, we have to muster resources and social services to help these women escape from the life in which they have been coerced. With the appropriate help, many of them will return to a life. Without the appropriate help, many of them will return to a life of slavery and prostitution. And interestingly and tragically, about 80% of adult prostitutes started in the human trafficking trade. The sad truth is that human trafficking victims are some of the most difficult victims our social service personnel will ever have to work with. Can any of us here in this room fathom what it takes to recover from the type of micro-control that so many trafficking victims endure? Have any of us ever lived in situations where every day the goal is simply to survive to the next day? Do we know what it's like to not have the freedom to do even the most basic things, like take a shower, eat a meal, or go for a walk? Yet those who work with human trafficking victims have to deal with wounded souls who have lived under precisely those circumstances. In order to help a victim rebuild life, it can take months or longer to help them realize that they can make their own decisions. That's why moving forward is absolutely imperative that we take a victim-centered approach to human trafficking. I'm pleased to be able to say that for the first time, there's now an office in the Montana Department of Justice tasked with the specific issue of human trafficking. Our Children's Justice Bureau, run by Dana Toole, is building partnerships intended to facilitate the very victim-centered approach we believe is necessary to help prevent rescued victims from falling back into the life they escaped. And if anyone can do that successfully, it's Dana Toole. This is one reason why places like the Watson's Children's Shelter right here in Missoula, which I mentioned earlier, are vitally important to helping rescue victims of trafficking. We can raise awareness of this issue. Law enforcement can work tirelessly to find and apprehend human traffickers, but those things are just the beginning. Each victim's life must be rebuilt and brought back into society. We need nonprofit organizations, shelters, churches, a network of support, and most importantly, trained individuals who are dedicated to helping. In closing, I want to thank the Mansfield Center not only for inviting me and other Montana Department of Justice officials to speak here, but most especially for holding this conference. Dr. Abraham Kim, thank you, and your fine staff for all that you're doing, not on just this subject, but so many more important subjects that are important to Montana and Americans. You should be commended, Dr. Kim and your staff, for putting together a top-notch group of experts from a wide range of fields and disciplines. I know for certain that the tremendous time and effort the Mansfield Center folks and all of the presenters put into this event will have an impact in fighting human trafficking. The motto chosen for this conference is appropriate because this is indeed a fight for hope and freedom. As I said before, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. We've taken some of those steps here today. Let's keep moving forward and work for the day when slavery is truly a thing of the past and not a single soul is bought, sold, trafficked, or treated as a commodity. That's the American promise, and that's what we'll do. Thank you all, and God bless you.
Thanks, General Fox. He's agreed to take any questions that people may have, so I'll call him up here, and if anyone has any questions, just raise your hand, and we have some microphones in the crowd.
No questions from my staff about raises, please.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being here.
You're welcome.
I was just curious if you might happen to have plans or be interested in the future in moving towards any kind of maybe a civilian volunteer training program to have, I don't know, folks like those of us who are not professionals in the Justice Department to be more on the lookout for this sort of thing, because I know that it exists, but I don't really know how to
Absolutely.
encounter it.
You know, that's a very important component of what we need here to do here today, because oftentimes, because human trafficking runs, below the radar, if you will, it's the everyday person, maybe the convenience store shop owner, the hotel proprietor, other folks who just happen to be there at the right time. They need to know what to look for. And you can go, by the way, I should tell you, to the Department of Justice's website at www.doj.mt.gov, and you'll find some helpful ideas on what to look for so that you can educate yourself. We will be doing more of that, and Dana and Brian Lockerbie and Matt Dale and others in the Division of Criminal Investigation will be and are actually spearheading those efforts. We're doing training not only for professionals, but we hope to bring the public at large into these discussions. I've been talking at Soroptimist meetings, and by the way, are there any Soroptimist members here today? Thank you, Soroptimist members, wholeheartedly for making this one of your missions. You guys are rock stars, and we couldn't do this without you. But we're going to rely on the Soroptimists. Your work is not done yet, because they have a particularized and very successful messaging apparatus, if you will. And folks like the Soroptimists will be our partners in all of the work that we do. So, but your question is well taken, because it's not just the professionals who need to know about these things. It's all Montanans, and we will do everything we can, and we're working with the media, churches, and the Soroptimists and other nonprofit groups, and we're not shy. We will ask as many folks as we can to help us, and I hope that all of you in this room here today will be a part of that effort. So speak with your friends and your family and your associates at work. Make sure that they know and understand that it's a great conversation to have. Have you heard about this? Did you know this was a problem in Montana? What do you think we can do to help? That's the conversation that each and every one of us has to have with someone we know. Thank you for that question. Yes, sir. Dr. Engstrom, President Engstrom.
Mr. Attorney General, since this is an issue, speaking now about the Bakken in particular, it's certainly a cross-border issue between Montana and North Dakota, maybe South Dakota, even Canada.
It's North Dakota's fault, by the way.
Is it? Could you talk a little bit about how you work with these other states, and even how you maybe work with Canada where appropriate on addressing this problem?
Absolutely. Just so you know, this was not a planned question, but thank you very much. The Attorney General of North Dakota, South Dakota, as you might imagine, all of the Attorney Generals of this country are very close colleagues, and Anthony can speak to this because it was that way when he was in the Attorney General's office. The National Association of Attorneys General has had for a number of years a program of helping fight human trafficking, and so our office is a big part of that, just as Attorney General Bullock was when he was Attorney General. I am very close to Attorney General Wayne Stenjum in North Dakota and Attorney General Marty Jackley in South Dakota. And I have met with both state and local and federal officials in North Dakota and in Montana to talk about these issues and how we can get additional resources to them and how we can help, not just with human trafficking, but with drugs and guns and all of those other things. We are also partnering with industry. You know, with the benefits should come some of the burden. And so for those that are reaping the benefits of the Bakken oil boom, they need to help with the problems. And so this summer, I have put together a conference. We're going to have it in North Dakota. That wasn't my choice. Somehow I got hornswoggled on that one. But in any event, it was something that my office initiated to talk with industry officials to make sure they understand what to look for and how they can help with dollars, particularly for local law enforcement, first responders, social workers, and other folks. And my goal is to have these cooperative public-private relationships that those who reap the most benefits can also share the burden with the people of Montana and North Dakota and elsewhere. So those are just a few of the things that we're doing. We go to the legislature and we all have a tight budget. We try to do what we can with what we have. But to be successful, we have to partner with everyone in this room and beyond. And we're doing that, and we will continue to do that. And we'll ask you for money, Representative Dudek.
I work in the public media, and I'm sorry to say I'm sort of taken aback by the scale, the magnitude of the problem. I'm learning a lot here, and I'm embarrassed that I didn't know more than I did, and it scares me. So my question to you is kind of personal. Did you see this coming? You've been involved in legal affairs and law enforcement for a long time. Has the scale and magnitude of this particular problem taken you by surprise, or did you see it coming? And is it part of some much larger social, cultural issue that we need to be mindful of?
Those are great questions, and I wish I could take credit for many things, but this one is not one I can take credit for. I have to give credit for bringing my awareness to where it should be in my office as Attorney General to a certain Soroptimist from the Kalispell area who happens to be here today, and I'm blanking on the name, help me out. Diane Yaris, who came to the legislature wanting to do this and many other things to fight human trafficking, and her colleagues in the Soroptimist backed her up, and they continue to do that. That's the kind of initiative from a person who, perhaps has not been impacted directly by human trafficking, but understands the magnitude of the problem and is not willing to sit by and let these things occur in her lifetime without taking action. So thank you, Diane. So, absolutely. Thank you. I want to also mention Representative Sarah Laszloffy, who's one of Representative Dudek's colleagues. She sponsored legislation to change Montana's laws in the last session to take this victim-centered approach that we've been talking about. She's a young freshman representative full of ideas and vigor and very motivated, and so many ideas come from our legislators. They're looking for ways to make a positive impact on Montanans' lives, and Representative Dudek is no different than Representative Laszloffy in that way. So it's ordinary individuals. It's not attorneys general who are the firestorm behind these kinds of efforts. And as I mentioned, Attorney General Bullock and his staff and Anthony Johnstone, these are things that they were passionate about too. And so we have to work together, and our work is immense, and it likely won't be done in our lifetimes, but we need to move the ball and take that one step that we've been talking about. So thanks for that question. By the way, if you haven't noticed, I cry at movies.
Hello, I'm Teresa Sobieschik from the Sociology Department here at UM.
Hi, Terry.
One of the things that came out of Melissa Farley's comments this morning was the intersection, at least of some prostitution with human trafficking. And so we were wondering if there's any signs of a move to change law or sentencing guidelines in Montana so that the solicitation of a prostitute stays on the male John's or client's record and cannot be expunged after 6 hours of educational classes.
You know, that's a good question, and frankly, being a free market capitalist that we are in America, as long as there is a market, if you will, the Johns, as you say, that are looking for these things, there will be human trafficking and people's lives ruined. And I agree with you, and that's one of the things that we're going to, perhaps this might be a bill that Representative Dudek might be asked to carry, but we're looking internally at the way that we can prosecute those criminals as well. And there are a lot of those folks that need help as well. We need to, again, look at these things from a holistic point of view, but more can be done, and that'll be a part of what we'll be looking at down the road. So thank you for that question.
Hi, Linda Lozier from Soroptimist down in Hamilton, and also with Soroptimist International. First of all, I'm so glad that C.S. Porter Middle School students are here, along with their instructors. But I was also wondering, have you or your office thought of a way to perhaps integrate education and awareness of human trafficking within the school system itself?
We have been discussing that, and we've actually reached out to some schools, and as you might imagine, this is a very sensitive, touchy subject. But it's not rocket science, and others have grappled with this issue. And part of our outreach will be working with schools at age-appropriate messaging, age-appropriate times in which we bring those messages. And I've actually spoken to our great superintendent of public instruction, Denise Junot, about this very issue. So, you know, we have to tackle it from every point of view, and if we can educate, and it's not just human trafficking, it's safety on the internet and social networking and texting and all of those things that when I was a kid were not an issue. You know, drinking might have been one of the big lures when I was a young person, but today's youth face so many temptations and so many risks. Those of you who are parents of school-age children know. And so we need to do better, because there are some very real signs that we can educate kids about what to look for and personal safety in those issues. And in fact, yesterday I was given the honor of awarding award to a 10-year-old girl from a Smith school in Helena for our National Missing Children's Poster Contest. She got a $100 check and a certificate and a nice pin and a patch from me. But the message there was personal awareness and public safety. We don't have to talk, we don't even have to use the word SEX. We can talk about just making sure that you stay with your friends and family, that you're safe on the internet, that you don't talk to strangers. Very simple, basic things that most parents talk about. And we can also help the parents message that as well. So we will continue to do that as best we can, and we will partner with the Soroptimists as others. And again, kudos to the Soroptimists for what you do. Any other questions? There's one back here. Okay, well, there was someone actually over there near you. There we go.
Pat with Traffic Refuge. General Fox, as citizens, and I know we're all concerned or we wouldn't be here, working with trafficked girls, we have a profile of generally what a pimp and a girl looks like. But as citizens, when do we call and who do we call?
Right.
When is something just profiling? When do you take something that looks suspicious? Because we see it all the time where we live, on the direct route to the Bakken. One
of the great things about living in Montana is that people care about one another, and we're great neighbors. Sometimes we're afraid that we may be snooping or whatever. But I think in this arena of human trafficking, for instance, when you see an older man with a very, very young girl, or you see a young girl who can't speak for herself, or seems to be shy and timid, and they're traveling through and you've never seen them before. There are a lot of different examples, and again, I would encourage you to go to the Polaris Project, polarisproject.com, and also to our website, doj.mt.gov. But I would err on the side of making that call. 911, when it's a local call, is probably always your best thing to do. You can also call the Polaris Project hotline, and those folks are trained to speak with you about what it is that you're seeing or your suspicion. And rest assured that now, just as of last year, the Montana Department of Justice is directly connected into the Polaris Project and the information that we get back from them when someone calls. And so we don't skip a beat. We make sure we partner with our federal and local law enforcement partners, and we look into these things. We take them very, very serious. And you all should too. And you know, certainly there's a decorum and diplomacy, and you have to use your own best judgment. But you need to first educate yourself as to what this looks like, and go to these websites, ask questions, and we'll be getting out more information as the days go on. Educate yourself and educate others. Then when you do see something, Brian Lockerme, my Division of Criminal Investigation administrator, 30 years in the Great Falls Police Department, stellar career, one of the people who his name kept popping up when I was looking at hiring folks. He will tell you that looking back, he missed seeing the signs of human trafficking when he had an opportunity perhaps to intercede. And so it's not just individuals of the public, it's law enforcement and others as well. So educate yourself, please. Yes, ma'am.
Last question.
Okay, and we'll have one more over here and then we'll be done. This young lady needs to get a question in too. And maybe I need to talk less.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Can you talk to us a little bit about your victim services plan? Is the Children's Justice Bureau focused on just domestic minor sex trafficking? And what does a victim services plan look like for adults or male victims or foreign national victims?
I'll tell you what, my expert is Matt Dale on victim services. If you could hand I hate to pass this on to you, Matt, but you know much more, right over here behind you. And we don't just provide services, the short answer, to minors, and certainly the Children's Justice Bureau does that, but Matt can tell you more about what we do for victim services. Matt?
And I'll keep this very brief, partly because of my ignorance. I'm here learning today. We do employ the Crime Victim Compensation Program, so that would take care of medical bills, mental health bills. When we're talking about foreign nationals, some of what you're asking about, we're laying track as the train has left the station. But the call should come to us. We're going to do everything we can, both on a state level and a federal level, to get to work with our federal partners and to learn what's available without recreating the wheel. Our budget limitations are the same as everyone else, but we're going to get a call and we're going to respond to it either with a program that exists or we're going to learn that we need to create something that we don't have right now.
Thanks, Matt. We have one more question. Do we have time for that, Anthony? Right here. And I don't know what time it is, but my next appointment's at 3. I'm happy to stick around if folks have other questions. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Kat Werner. I'm with the YWCA in Missoula, and we talked about this a little bit at our last panel, and Dana Toole and Cindy Peterson were part of that. One of the questions that came up was specifically, when we think of trafficking, we all know it's about exploitation of vulnerability. So the most vulnerable people really in our state are our biggest minority of Native American people.
Absolutely.
So what is your office, in terms of services, funding sources, how are you planning on addressing, working with tribal governments and including services on tribal land?
Let me just first say that I wrote to Congress and asked them to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act and that particular part that gave tribal law enforcement, tribal courts, the ability to prosecute familial abuse and some of these other child abuse and other things locally. In my office, I have made one of my planks or platforms, if you will, working to promote public safety and the betterment of everyone in Indian country. This is a major focus of my office, and we're reaching out to each of the tribal governments, tribal law enforcement. Just as an example, I took almost 40 people from my supervisory and managerial staff and my executive team to the Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribe. And I think the place where we start is we don't come and say, I'm here from the government and I'm here to help. We need to understand the people that we're working with. And so I asked them to give me a day-long seminar, and we're asking all the tribal governments to do this, about the history of their tribe, of their people, their culture, the struggles that they've been through, how their government is set up, how their law enforcement is set up, specific mannerisms and things about their life and their culture that are important to them. That serves then as the basis for us to build on cooperative agreements with all of the tribes. We have a couple of tribes that we have memoranda of understanding for law enforcement support and what have you. One of the first things I did was meet with Superintendent Janot to talk about school safety in Indian country and what we can do collaboratively to work in our tribal schools to make sure that kids in particular are protected. I hired a woman named Melissa Schlichting as an assistant attorney general last year, who has worked with tribal governments, and she has worked on tribal issues, and she's an amazing young woman. And her focus was, I have tasked her with making sure that these collaborative efforts and the reaching out that we're doing with our tribal governments is done and done well. And we're putting more emphasis on it than any other Attorney General really in history has put into it. And the need is great. In my mind, it is an American shame that we have places where just because you were born there or live there, you have a greater instance of being a victim of crime and a greater instance of being poor. We have that in Montana. And these are places for safe havens for criminals. And until I am done being Attorney General and long beyond, we're going to do everything we can at the Department of Justice to promote safety and collaborative work in law enforcement in Indian country. So thank you for that question.